I visited the place where my favorite artist Hiroshige Ando painted 100 famous views of Edo to see what the scene looks like today. The 108 view of Shibaura Inlet is a view looking south from the east side of the present Hamarikyu, which was then the sea. First of all, please check the map to see where this area called Shibaura was located at that time. It roughly refers to the sea on the Minato Ward side of Tokyo Bay. This area, where the Musashino Plateau falls to the sea, was called Shiba because grass grew over a fairly large area, and the land side was called Shibahama and the seaside Shibaura. Let me cover this with a relatively accurate map from 1881. You can clearly see that even at this time, this area was the sea. During the Edo period, what is now Shimbashi was called Shibagachi, entrance of Shiba, and Tamachi was called Matashiba, original Shiba. Even before Tokugawa Ieyasu arrived in Kanto in Tensho 1590, there were numerous fishing villages in Edo Bay. The sea at the mouth of the Furukawa River was a particularly famous fishing ground, where shellfish, eels, Shiba shrimp, flounder, and black sea bream were caught, and there was a fish market called Sakoba. It was also one of the Asasakana Hachigora, where special privileges were obtained by offering fresh fish and other products to the shogun's family. One of the famous Rakugo stories, Shibahama, is also set in this area. It is a story about a down-on-his-luck fisherman who picks up a wallet containing a large sum of money on the beach on his way to the fish market in Shiba. Let's enlarge the map a little more and put a red gradient on the place where Hiroshige's point of view would have been. Then, I cover it with a map published in the year Hiroshige painted this picture. You can see that at that time, the current Hamarikyu was the residence of the Hama Palace and the current Shibarikyu was the residence of the Ukiyo-e Palace. Let me cover this with a more accurate scale map from 1881. You can see that by this time, the residence of the Ukiyo-e Palace had become Shibarikyu. Let's take a closer look at Hiroshige's painting. First of all, the white-headed bird flying in the sky is a winter-feathered black-headed gull. It is said to be the bird called Miyako Dori by Iriwara no Narihira in Ice Monogatari, the Tale of Ice. The mountain in the distance is Yatsuyama, to the left of which is Shinagawa-juku, to the right of which is Takanawa, and further to the right is the fishing village of Shibaura, which leads to the mouth of the Furukawa River at the far right. Here is the map again from 1881. I painted Hamarikyu Garden in blue and added Hiroshige's viewpoint in red gradient. Shibaura, with its large arc-shaped stretch of sandy beach, was also famous for its moon. The fish caught here were so tasty that they were called Shiba Savannah. As time went by, it was called Edomi, meaning that the fish was caught in front of Edo, and it became even more highly prized. In the distant left view, you can see what looks like several platforms along with boats with sails, which are platforms. These are gun emplacements built by the Edo shogunate in a panic as a defensive measure in Edo Bay in response to the surprise of the black ships from USA. The island-like stone wall with pine trees on the right is said to be the Hamarikyu Gardens, which still remain today. However, when examined, the stone wall of the Hama Palace at that time is straight. Here is a capture by Tokyo History Map 2. I added Hiroshige's point of view to this. This shows that the stone wall on the right side of the painting was not only Hamarikyu Gardens but also a series of daimyo's residences. On the far right is the Hama Palace. On the left is the residence of the Ukiyo-e family of the Wakayama domain. On the left is the residence of the Niwa family of the Matsu domain. And on the far left is the warehouse residence of the Matsudara family of the Eizu domain. It seems that Hiroshige deformed them well and made them look continuous. Today, from right to left, the Hamarikyu Gardens, Shibarikyu, Tokyo Gas Headquarters, Toshiba Headquarters across the Furukawa River, and the Sea Vents. The area around the stone wall and pine trees on the right side of Hiroshige's painting was a marshy area with thick reeds that served as a hunting ground for the shoguns until around the end of the Kano era, 1644. The area was reclaimed with soil from the excavation of the Kanda waterworks and the present Kanda River, and Tsuneshige, the younger brother of the 4th shogun Tsuneyoshi, built a villa here. When his son Inobu became the 6th shogun and moved to Edo Castle, this area came to be called the Hama Palace. Two large stakes are depicted on the left side, which were called Ukiyo-e, a kind of boundary to indicate that from here the land belonged to the shogun's family. There were a total of 4 of these stakes around the Hama Palace. However, for fishermen and boatmen, these piles served as Miyatsukashi for boats navigating in this area, as they were able to observe the difference between the ebb and flow of the tide. Hiroshige also depicted this area in his picture book Edo Souvenir, in which this Ukiyo-e is also depicted as a symbol of Shibaura. In his picture book Edo Souvenir, Hiroshige also painted another picture looking at Sajaji Temple and Shinmei-gu Shrine from the sea. The sea in this area was quite busy with various boats. This is a painting by Hiroshige depicting the direction of Edo Castle from the sea in Shibaura. You can see that there were quite a few fishing villages in the town of Shiba. This is a picture looking toward Takanawa from the mouth of the Furukawa River. You can see that when the tide receded, the beach was quite far offshore. This is a view from Mount Otago toward Shibaura and the mouth of the Sumida River. There are many fire watchtowers near Toranomon in the foreground, indicating that there were many samurai residences. I actually visited this location. Currently, a new loop route 2 has opened on the south side of the old Tsukiji fish market, and a bridge called Tsukiji Ahashi has been built. This photo was taken from that area. The stone wall garden on the right is the Hamarikyu Gardens, which used to be the shogunate's the Hama Palace and is now a metropolitan park. In front is what used to be the sea, but is now lined with hotels, business buildings, and theaters, thanks to the redevelopment of Takeshiba Pier and the surrounding area. After Hamarikyu Garden is the reduced Shibarikyu, but it is not visible in the shadows of trees. If you swing your viewpoint to the right, you can see a full view of the Hamarikyu Gardens. With an area of 25 hectares, it is one of the largest remaining daimyo's gardens in Tokyo. Next to the garden is a pier where visitors can board a water bus to Asakusa, making it a famous sightseeing spot in Tokyo. To the right behind is the redevelopment area of Shiodome, with its forest of high-rise buildings. If you turn your viewpoint to the left, you can see beyond the weir of the Sumida River in the foreground to the Kachidoki and Toyomi areas, with the Rainbow Bridge on the far right side. The left side of the photo was the sea at the time of Hiroshige, and the south side of Tsukuda Island at the mouth of the Sumida River was progressively reclaimed and made into land up to this point. This is a photo of Hiroshige's viewpoint from the south. The vacant lot in the front is the redevelopment area of the former Tsukiji fish market. The Hamarikyu Gardens are on the left, and the Sumida River is on the right. This is an aerial view of Hamarikyu Gardens from the north. You can see that the beautifully lapped sandy beach and the sea, which used to be a rich fishing ground, have been filled with buildings. I decided to be playful and fill in the area that would have been the sea at that time with seawater. You can see the amazing desire for human development. I embedded the current photo in Hiroshige's painting. The view that could be seen as far as Shinagawa is blocked by many buildings. Except for the water surface and the Hamarikyu Gardens, there is no trace of those days. This painting by Hiroshige was one of the first 5 released in the 100 Famous Views of Edo series in February 1856. In 1853, the shogunate was surprised by the appearance of black ships off the coast of Uriga and hurriedly built a platform to serve as a gun emplacement in Edo Bay. But in November 1855, a major earthquake hit Edo, causing the middle platform depicted in the painting to largely collapse. However, Hiroshige painted it as if all the platforms were intact. The large Ukiyo-e in the painting strongly indicates that the Hama Palace was the departure point for the Edo castle of the Tokugawa shogunate and that no one was to enter beyond this point. Matsuda Katamori of the Eizu domain, the owner of a warehouse surrounded by stone walls at the far end of the castle, was treated as a dynastic enemy after he and Tokugawa Yoshinobu and others launched the Battle of Toba, Fushimi in the first month of 1868. He then returned to Aizu Castle and fought a thorough war, but surrendered to the Allied to the government forces in September of the first year of the Meiji era, 1868. While the winds of such an era are blowing strongly, the city birds are soaring happily on the headwind. The migratory black-headed gull are leaving for the next new country by the time their heads turn black. This small painting seems to depict many storytellers of such an era.